2 days ago, Florian published a video on the channel talking about the concerns he had with the Silent Hill 2 trailer and how it looked outdated and unsuitable for next-gen standards. And boy, he was killed in the comments.
You've just been erased.
The Silent Hill fanbase didn't show any mercy for him. They deemed him a traitor according to the Silent Hill Constitution, and he was subjected to eternal suffering in the PT hallway, where he must confess his mistakes over and over and go insane until he repents. He was a good guy, but sadly, he entered a dangerous zone where no one could come out. The guardians of the Silent Hill Fortress don't tolerate any attack on their territory, and any criticism is met with absolute horror that no one can survive. Today, I decided to talk about a Silent Hill game that was released at the same time as the Silent Hill 2 trailer. But since I'm afraid for my safety, I want to keep it short and say that Silent Hill Short Message is the best horror game ever made in the history of gaming. It's a 10 out of 10 masterpiece and should be the game of the year. Trust me, I'm not saying this under any type of threat. Everything I'm saying is my real opinion, and Silent Hill fans never pressured me to say anything. Okay, jokes aside, now it's time to be serious so we can understand this game together and explain it to you clearly, so you can know if it's worth it or not. First of all, I need to remind you that this is a free game, so we basically can't really complain about its quality, but either way, we need to give an honest opinion about it. The story is a little bit messed up and contains disturbing themes like bullying, abuse, depression, and all the tragedies in between. The protagonist here is Anita, a troubled, unstable teenager who receives a text from her friend Maya, inviting her to a meeting at a dilapidated apartment building.
Oh, yeah. Maya told me to come here.
Throughout Anita's exploration of the building, she gets confused about the bizarre atmosphere of this place and why she can't find Maya anywhere.
Maya?
After she enters the hallway, she receives a couple of texts from a friend called Amelie.
Who's there?
She reads the messages, and then she proceeds through the door that opened at the end of the hallway, leading to the sticky note room, where a brief cutscene unfolds.
This place. Why all the sticky notes?
Loser! Stupid! Liar! Crazy! Crybaby! Ugly! I hate you, dumb!
To the left, following the cutscene, she engages with a note addressing child abuse placed on a wooden cabinet. She then ventures further into the sticky note rooms to discover a bedroom, featuring an interactive item on the side table by the bed related to depression drugs. She continues exploring the rooms until a door to a bathroom opens, and once she interacts with the razor on the sink, there's a cutscene showing someone doing something that I can't talk about due to the rules of the platform, but it's basically something that some people do when they reach a bad level of mental problems. At this point, you start to realize that there's a tragedy that happened in this place, and you're not here to have a nice meeting with your friend Maya. Afterward, you'll find yourself confined in a new room with two interactable elements: a newspaper article discussing teens doing bad things to themselves that I also can't talk about, and there's a cherry blossom artwork on the back wall of the next room that you need to interact with before leaving the apartment.
Cherry blossoms bloom within the grasp of death. With most flowers, the rot sets in, then they fall. That's the price.
By the way, this girl is Maya, and she shows up just to be creepy, and then the sequence ends without anything that makes sense. Anyway, after roaming around the building, you finally reach a studio that Maya told you about. Once you enter it and interact with the sketchbook, a cutscene occurs.
Why won't she reply? Where are you? Am I going crazy?
Then another cutscene occurs where Anita becomes sad because she lost followers on social media. This is when you start to understand the real disorder in her personality.
I lost followers again. Some new followers here. I need to upload stuff like this to get as many likes as Maya.
However, as soon as you try to leave, a mysterious entity will start chasing you. After running around and reaching a safe space, you will eventually find yourself waking up back in the villa. You will explore multiple rooms and trigger multiple cutscenes where Maya shows up in your memory again until you eventually reach the kitchen. Here, there's some creepy writing on the fridge that says, "If you want food, do what I say." And there's an even creepier book on the table that talks about a type of disturbing Japanese ritual that revolves around death. In the other room, you find a notebook with very harsh things written inside it, expressing hatred and envy towards someone. Everything you find here is distressingly weird, and you always keep encountering news articles about girls who died mysteriously with the possibility of them causing their deaths. The whole thing is such a mess, and this is one of the problems that I had with the game, but I will explain it later. At some point, you'll reach a school hallway, but once you open the door to the other side, you'll find weird, shadowy figures, probably resembling the students. You'll keep exploring until you find a locker that will trigger a cutscene when you interact with it.
What the hell?
Get out, you freak!
Slut, your arm's fucking
You're a freak.
God, you piece of shit.
This sequence gives you a hint that the protagonist is a victim of intense bullying and harassment from her schoolmates. It's obvious that these hallucinations in her head are a result of trauma that happened in her past. But despite these hints, we still don't really know what's happening here. You will wake up in the hallway again, and for some reason, you need to run because something is chasing you from somewhere, even though you don't see anything. To be clear, you can actually see something, and if it catches you, you're doomed. However, all of this appears to be in her head, and nothing physical is really chasing her. She's basically hunted by her memories and mental pain, which is something to make the game look like a genuine Silent Hill game, I guess.
Why are you chasing me?
And by the way, the nightmarish realm in the game is supposed to be the other world here, which is something that Silent Hill players are familiar with in every game. However, as you go deeper here, it becomes evident that the protagonist has a real problem of jealousy, narcissism, friendship, and obsession with attention.
Maya only ever cared about Amelie. She didn't see me. I was invisible to her.
Every time she encounters an artwork of Maya or sees her belongings, all she thinks about is how privileged Maya is while she's lonely, a loser, and has no followers on social media, which is the typical teenager problem. This whole world is basically shaped by Anita's self-loathing. Whether it's the school, the house, or the library, it simply represents places where she faced some sort of bullying or negative encounters with others.
You're way more talented than me. So, why? Why take Amelie from me? You acted like I wasn't even there. Amelie is my friend. She's mine.
Okay, so as you can see, the protagonist is a narcissistic sociopath, and she wants people to see her as the center of the world, and everything should be about her.
Me. She wouldn't pay attention to me.
It also seems that the protagonist had real problems with her mother, and she doesn't feel appreciated by her. Or she was simply a spoiled child and her mind made her believe that her mom didn't love her.
My mother yelled at me! At me! She inflicted the curse on my womb, and I gave it life! I'm sorry, Mom!
Long story short, the game continues with this theme, and disturbing cutscenes of Maya keep showing up talking about witchcraft, fortune-telling, rituals, and weird stuff that indicates that these teenagers were insane and desperate. I'm not going to dive deeper because I pretty much covered most of the key points of the game, and the only stuff left are the discoveries that will lead to the ending, which I'm not going to discuss in case you want to play it by yourself. The real question now should be, is this game really good? Well, the answer is yes, it's good, but not as a Silent Hill game. If you remove Silent Hill from the title and tell me that this game is called Short Message, there's no way I could realize that it's a Silent Hill game or even relate it to the franchise. And this is the worrying part that most people don't talk about. This game was actually developed by Team Silent, the people responsible for the Silent Hill division in Konami, and yet the game feels nothing like Silent Hill. And I know that some of you might say that this is a different story and all that stuff, but the problem, my friends, is that the game didn't give me any psychological horror experience that would remind me of a psychological horror series like Silent Hill. If you focus on the intro of my video, you'll understand that I wanted to tell you that this game feels like it's getting inspiration from other titles without having an identity of its own. It feels like a random mix of ideas to desperately try to scare the player, but it falls short. This is the first time I feel a Silent Hill game is copying indie games instead of the other way around. The visuals are good, and the gameplay is convenient, but to be honest, I wasn't scared in any second of this game. Everything was predictable, and the chase sequences felt like something random that we were already used to in other games. The only thing that pushes you to play is the fact that it's free, and that's it. Trust me, if it were put on a price of $5, then I would advise you to buy From the Darkness, because that game is an absolute nightmare for people who want psychological horror. Another thing that I really had an issue with was the story. It felt like a combination of elements that some developers use in indie games just to make the game look overly disturbing without being actually scary. Most documents and clues here talk about people dying and girls suffering, but you can't really feel any of it in the actual experience. The reason why a game like Visage is insanely terrifying is because the story is crafted carefully to keep you always curious and scared of something you know happened, and you're dealing with its consequences directly. The plot is also mixed with realistic aspects to make you feel like this is a real story that's disturbing because it's sad and agonizing, and not because it's shocking. This is the same reason why PT was also such a masterpiece. The ambiguity of the story and the clues that you encounter make you actually interested in piecing together everything to know what happened. Short Message confirms that PT has nothing to do with Konami's vision of psychological horror, and that it was all about Kojima's creativity and awareness of how to affect the player's mind. He knew how to scare us and how to kill us with curiosity to understand the plot. To be fair, I actually believe that if Blooper Team had developed this game, it would have been scarier because one thing we can't take from them is their ability to create an intense atmosphere in games. With that being said, I'm honestly starting to be convinced that modern Konami doesn't even know what a Silent Hill game is, and this is what worries me about the future of Silent Hill 2. Most people are focusing on Blooper Team and how they would make the game, but the hidden problem is that Konami itself doesn't even know what should be made. I feel like they're the ones who will end up confusing the developers into adding elements that they think will make people buy the game, not because they're relevant to the Silent Hill franchise. If the next remake will contain too much combat, then be sure that Konami suggested that because they want to sell games similar to Resident Evil and take a piece of the market. And by the way, I know that some people might say, Short Message is a free game. You can't expect a powerful psychological experience from a free game. Well, my friends, Cry of Fear is also a free indie game that came out 12 years ago, and it gave more psychological horror than you could have asked for. In fact, I believe a remake of this game with modern visuals and a big budget would be really insane. Anyway, this is it for today, and I'm positive that we will be talking more in the future about Silent Hill 2 and how things will go for it. To be honest, Blooper Team is in a stressful situation that no developer wants to be in. All the eyes are on them, and Konami is looking from far away and waiting for them to somehow save the series.
You gonna yell at me if I don't?
No, I won't.